Welcome, guys. This is the first season of UFC BJJ Road to the Title. Obviously, you guys are a part of something special. If you look at what this format has done for the UFC and for the sport of MMA, this is what it's going to do for Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu, too.
Welcome back, grapplers. Today I'm going to talk to you about the new show called UFC BJJ Road to the Title that's currently available for free on YouTube. Yes, you heard me right, for free. There's so many BJJ events happening these days, and now UFC has taken their shot at their own version, utilizing an old familiar format called The Ultimate Fighter, but essentially making it a BJJ show. But we know how that show kicked off the success of UFC. Is it a great idea for BJJ, or is it doomed to fail? Let's have a closer look. So, what is UFC BJJ? UFC BJJ is essentially a BJJ tournament featuring two teams comprised of top lightweight and welterweight BJJ athletes. Very similar format than the Ultimate Fighter. You have two, well, should be famous coaches. One is pretty famous. The other one is not quite yet. And they both select their own team of athletes based on, their review of existing skills. The match, this is the interesting part. The matches take place in an angled wall octagon. And we all know the popularity of the angled walls right now. I personally love it. I wish we had the room in the gym to be able to put these angled walls. We're gonna have to come up with something because these angled walls are exploding in popularity. What I particularly love is they're going to be doing 3 rounds of 5 minutes with judges scoring each of the rounds. Obviously, they're not like other formats where they're letting people know who won a particular round. You don't find out until the end. Of course, you can instantly win the match via a submission. So pretty standard. Looks like they're following the evolution of where a lot of BJJ events are moving towards. Specifically, CJI has kind of really showcased the success or potential success of this type of format. That said, it's raised quite a bit of controversy. Craig Jones has gone to social media on a few occasions, made a couple videos on it where he's expressed his concern that UFC is copying the format and copying what CGI has done. I completely disagree with Craig on this. He doesn't own the idea. He didn't actually come up with the angled wall ideas. Not that I know of anyway, so I apologize if I'm wrong about this. But my understanding is it came from combat karate. They were doing this back in the combat karate days. And then when that organization started doing BJJ matches, and Craig was heavily involved with that, he had some tremendous matches utilizing the walls in a very innovative way, catching a real cool triangle off that wall one time. But he's claiming it as his own and saying that they stole it from CJI. And I just think, it's an evolution of BJJ and it's something that they grabbed and took and potentially can take it to the next level. It looks to be in an octagon shape, so the cage is gone. But again, what's cool about these elevated mats is it keeps the action going. There's no falling out, if you will. The walls are too high, but that angle makes it really interesting to be able to utilize. The other thing Craig also complained about is the pay. Their UFC BJJ, they're currently going to be making $15,000 to show and to win. Now, what I'm not sure is it $15,000 per win or $15,000 to win the whole show? Knowing UFC, it's probably to win the whole show. So the most that they're going to come out of there with is about $3K, as opposed to the CJI event where they get $10K to show, up to $1 million if they actually win the event. That said, the UFC event is still better than a lot of the other events, and the exposure could be tremendous for a lot of those athletes as well. The only part that I don't have too much information on, and Craig has alluded to, is any nuances in the UFC contract. So, there's word of that there's specifics that don't allow these athletes to participate in other large events. I really hope that's not correct. I hope it doesn't bind them for very long. It sounds like this could turn into into a huge thing for UFC because, again, they're doing lightweight and welterweight, and they want to crown a champion in each of the events. What does that mean? Well, that means there could possibly be UFC BJJ specific events in the future, and that just bodes well for our sport. I think that this is a huge thing for us, but always can't have huge things happening in the sport without a bit of controversy, and Craig is very vocal about that. So let's talk a bit about the show, the two coaches. So we have Mikey Musumeci. Who doesn't know Mikey? If you're a BJJ practitioner and you don't know about this man, you're just not a fan of the sport. I'm a huge fan and have been following him for a long time now. 5-time world IBJJF champion, also the flyweight champion in one championship. Tremendous. What I love about him, the man's got to be on the spectrum. He is pure entertainment on this show. It's worth tuning in just to watch his character evolved and how he works with his athlete. He's just a tremendous human being. You can't get any nicer. He's a first class individual. Then we have a gentleman, Rarison Gabriel. I've never heard of him. I apologize if many of you have heard of him. IBJJF Pan champion and multi-time South American champion. Seems like a nice guy. I don't know him very well. I actually don't think he was a good choice for the show. His English isn't very good. And what's coming across is he's trying, God bless him. He's giving it his best shot. He's got some great analysis that he's providing. I don't know how many takes it took to get some of those shots. What I didn't particularly like, though, was his coaching, during the matches. Because he was trying to coach in English, there seemed to be a delay in what he was saying, and it took some of the other athletes to step in and help him with some of the coaching. So in the inaugural event, I don't know if he was actually the best choice. What's going to be interesting, though, is these two coaches at the finale are going to be facing off. So, a new body for Mikey to work his magic against. I hope this guy's leg lock defenses are really good. I'm not going to go through each specific team member for each of the teams. I kind of question some of Mikey's choices, but it's definitely gonna be an interesting show and interesting to see how this pans out. Obviously, the purpose of this show is, some people were saying, well, there's no stars, what kind of show can you have? Well, let's look back at the Ultimate Fighter. Like, do you remember the first few seasons? Were they stars? Most of those athletes were not stars at the time. Some of them had some pretty decent records, and you knew who they were. But what really ended up happening is it made stars. So I am not going to critique the show for what it is. I will critique their ranking. I question their ranking, the way they rank certain individuals, and the way that ranking affected the draws and the teams. You have to watch to find out. It was very interesting. It's worth tuning in just to see that. But let me point out a few individuals from both teams. For Mikey's team, Isaac stands out. He was a 2022 IBJJF World Gi champion. The interesting thing with him, he's a teammate of Mikey, and he works really closely with Mikey and has been working a lot of no-gi. So obviously when you're working with Mikey, guess what he's working on? He's working leg locks. I can't wait to see his guard. I'm assuming his guard is going to be tremendous. There's a gentleman named Carlos Enrique, 2023 IBJJF Nogi Pan champion, and Danilo Moriera, I apologize if I mispronounced the names, 2023 IBJJF Nogi World Bronze medalist. So those are the ones that stand out on Mikey's team. So Isaac seems to be the real standout, and he was pretty much selected because he's an existing teammate. Again, it'll be interesting to see how he transitions from the gi to no gi. Different pace, different game. This is a different rule set as well, so it should be very interesting. Now to Team Gabriel. When this name popped up, I got excited. I was like, yeah, okay. Well, I know him. Actually, there's a couple names. I was like, yeah, okay. Those are those are my guys. They're not on the team I want them. I wish they were on Mikey's team, but Rarison really made a good selection and lucked out as far as I'm concerned, because I think these two guys are going to win everything. So first one is Gianni Grippo, a 3 times no-gi world champion. A huge fan. A huge fan of his style and his lineage. So I was really happy to see him. So he would be a big name that was invited. So big name, if you're a real Jiu-Jitsu fan, you know all about him. He's a Marcelo Garcia student for years, up until brown belt. I'm not sure if he got his black belt from Marcelo. Maybe he did, but I think he moved out to California and is training out there. But again, we know what his pedigree is. Andrew Tackett. Okay, no major titles, but if you're a follower of the sport, you know what a tremendous athlete. If you didn't tune into the last CJI tournament, you missed this guy, but he's been performing at the top level in several events. When I saw him, I'm going, man, the destroyer is here. Who's gonna stand up to this kid's athleticism? Is he 22 years old? Been training since he was like 4 or 5 years old. Training with his brother. As a force on the BJJ scene. So I'm really excited what's going to happen with this kid moving forward. And then we have a gentleman named Josh Cisneros, IBJJF Pan Champ, more importantly ADCC bronze medalist. So this guy's got some experience as well, so he's got some game. It's going to be very interesting to see all these guys match up and where this ends up. Again, there's 2 different weight classes, so who knows what's going to happen. Let's talk a bit about the negatives and the positives. So what? The negatives. Sorry to say it, Rarison Gabriel. Again, I don't know if he was the best choice for the inaugural show, but Mikey definitely takes up the slack on this. I'm interested to see. I haven't seen the shows. I've seen the first couple, and then I'm like, oh man, I gotta do a review on this. Like, everyone needs to know about it. People, members of my channel, you guys need to watch this, because I'm assuming if you're on my channel, you're an older grappler. You know UFC and the old shows and what that became, and how entertaining the first, I'd say five seasons of that show were. I really enjoyed it. The other negative, well, the caliber of competitors is not what I expected going in. But then I remembered about Ultimate Fighter. I alluded to it already earlier, that the purpose of the Ultimate Fighter is to identify future stars. And I think for the first class or first set of athletes coming into this show, I think it was a good choice. We got the rising stars. I think there's a real opportunity for this show. So although I identified it as a negative, that's kind of the purpose of the whole show. And negative or positive, everyone is so nice. Jiu-Jitsu athletes tend to be really, really nice in general. And part of the challenge that I see with the first few episodes is everyone is so nice and so full of class to each other, treating each other really well. Hopefully they introduce alcohol into the show and maybe that'll change some things, but definitely not the big egos and, excuse the expression, the asshole nature that tends to come with some UFC fighters. Again, there's a ton of fighters with class and honor, but it really stands out in this particular show with these BJJ athletes, mostly North American guys. And really, I think it might be to the detriment of the show. I'm sure the producers were like, can you guys just argue or fight or something? But again, it's still early. I've only seen a couple of the shows and they've been nothing but nice so far. So we'll see if the drama picks up in future shows. But on the positive side, the couple matches that I did see, tremendous. Like, it was awesome. I love the octagon. I love the elevated walls. I love the 3 rounds. They make perfect sense. This has to be the future. It negates the whole IBJJF point system. Again, I love that too, but it has its place. It's a different It's a different style. This is forcing action, and that's why we tune into no gi and gi as well. You know, hey, maybe this format will work with the gi and raise that excitement level. But the couple of matches I saw was like, yeah, I'm all in with this show. 3 rounds is the way to go. Judge's decision. Again, Mikey on the spectrum, class act, just fun to watch. He shows his pasta making skills. Hopefully in a future episode, he'll show some of his pizza making skills. For those who don't know, apparently that's all he eats is pasta and pizza, and the guy's ripped to shreds and one of the greatest athletes in BJJ of all time. I have nothing but high praise for him. So great show. In summary, honestly, UFC BJJ is one of the best things to happen in BJJ in a while. There's so many good shows happening right now. I'm a huge fan of CJI. There's a lot of other shows that are popping up, but this excites me. It's a different format from the perspective. It's a TV show. It's not the 1 or 2 day event that you go and watch. We get to progress with these guys and watch them develop through the show. Hopefully they can keep the entertainment level up, and you know, we could be witnessing some future stars here. And again, the difference between this show and all the other events is we get to know the athletes a lot more. We get to know their ins and outs. I'd like to see, like they did in The Ultimate Fighter, I'd like to see more training montages. I want to see how they're training. I want to see what they're doing. I want to see how they're drilling. I want to see how they're working on their cardio. I need to see more of that. That's the kind of stuff I'm really interested in seeing. I'm interested, and their perspective of how the training is going. So there is some of that in the few episodes that I've seen so far. So overall, UFC is investing in Jiu-Jitsu, and this gets me excited. We're talking about a multi-billion-dollar company that's committing to BJJ. So how can it not be a positive? Who's really against this? I get why Craig Jones is against this, and maybe some of the other organizers for other events, because it's a new monster player that's getting in the way. But from a BJJ practitioner and BJJ fan and BJJ athlete, this can only be a positive. This is getting our sport out to the next level. Just like, hopefully, just like MMA is worldwide right now, and people love MMA. People who don't even train love MMA. So let's get BJJ exposed to normal people, and once they realize, hey, they can ask themselves, hey, maybe I can do that. So BJJ has exploded in popularity the last 20 years, but from a sports audience perspective, it really hasn't. Okay, it's very limited. Those that watch ADCC, CJI, and the show, the beginning of this show, they're really BJJ practitioners right now. But hopefully, because they're giving this out for free on YouTube, that people start running into it. I've told people at work that love UFC, regular UFC MMA, I go, well, check out the BJJ, see if you like it. And some of them I watch it and they're like, oh, it's pretty cool. So hopefully the word gets out, hopefully the fan base grows, and it can only help our sport moving forward. Well, I hope you guys enjoyed this video. The real purpose here is I wanted to share my enthusiasm for this new show. As I watch, I'm like, I gotta make a video real quick and get the word out. So if you haven't heard about it, do your YouTube search right away. UFC BJJ Road to the Title. It's free. It's awesome. You can watch it when you want and support the community and support this amazing event. Thank you so much for tuning in. Have a great day.